Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, which is titled, what's the title of the second canto? Creation of the Cosmic Court, the Cosmic Manifestation. Text 39. Chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations, and text 39. Sarge tapoham rishayo navaye prajesha.
Sarge tapoham rishayo navaye prajesha.
Sthane tadharma makamam manvamarabanisha.
Sthane tadharma makamam ramaravanisha.
Ante tadharma haramanyuva shasuradhyam.
Ante tadharma haramanyuva shasuradhyam.
Maya vibhutaya ima purushakti bhaja.
Maya vibhutaya imaha purushakti bhaja.
Sarge tapoham rishayo navaye prajesha.
Sarge tapoham rishayo navaye prajesha.
Sthane tadharma makamanva maravanisha.
Sthane tadharma makamam.
Ante Tvadharma Haramanyuvashasaradya
Ante Tvadharma Haramanyuvashasaradya
Maya Vibhutaya Ima Purushakti Bhajaha
Maya Vibhutaya Ima Purushakti Bhajaha.
Go to the word meanings, or someone will chant also? Okay, would anyone like to chant?
Tapohamrishayo navaye prajesha Sthane tatharma matamanva amaravanisha Ante tvadharma haramanyuvasasuradya Maya vibhutya imaha purushakti bhajaha Sarge tapohamrishayo navaye prajesha Sthane Ante tvadharma Maya vibhutaya imaha purushakti bhajaha Sarge tapohamrishayo navaye prajesha Sthane yadharma matamanva amaravanisha Ante tvadharma Maya vibhutaya imaha purushakti bhajaha
Messages?
Sarge tapohamrishayo navaye prajesha Sthane tadharma matamanva amaravanisha Maya vibhutaya ima purushakti bhajaha
Sarge.
Sarge
In the beginning of the creation,
In the beginning of the creation
tapaha,
Tapaha
penance,
Venus
aham,
Aham
myself,
myself
rishayaha,
Rishayaha
sages,
sages
nava,
Nava
9,
nine
ye prajesha,
Ye prajesha
those who would generate,
Those who can generate
sthane,
Sthane
in the middle while maintaining the creation,
in the middle while maintaining the creation
atha,
Atha
certainly,
certainly
dharma,
Dharma
religion,
religion
makha,
Maka
Lord Vishnu,
Lord Vishnu
Manu,
Manu
the father of mankind,
Father of mankind
Amara,
Amara
the demigods,
the demigods
deputed to control the affairs of maintenance. Avanisha,
Avanisha
and the king of different planets.
the king of the planets
Kings, plural, apologies. ante,
ante,
at the end,
at the end,
to,
to,
but, adharma,
adharma,
irreligion,
irreligion,
hara,
hara,
Lord Shiva,
Shiva,
manyuvasha,
manjusha,
subjected to anger,
pranitya,
asuradhyaha,
asuradhyaha,
atheists,
atheists,
the enemies of the devotees,
devotees,
maya,
maya,
energy,
energy,
vibhutayaha,
vibhutayaha,
powerful representatives,
power representatives,
ima,
imaha,
all of them,
all of them,
purushakti bhajaha,
Purushakti Bhajana,
of the supreme powerful Lord.
of the Supreme of the Lord.
Translation. At the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, meaning Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then, during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva and the atheists, full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord. Purport. The material world is created by the energy of the Lord, which is manifested in the beginning of the creation by the penance of Brahmaji, the first living being in the creation. And then there are the 9 Prajapatis, known as great sages. In the stage when the creation is maintained, there are devotional service to Lord Vishnu, or factual religion, the different demigods, and the kings of different planets who maintain the world. At last, when the creation is preparing to wind up, there is first the principle of irreligion, then Lord Shiva along with the atheists, full of anger. But all of them are but different manifestations of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahadev, Shiva, are different incarnations of the different modes of material nature. Vishnu is the Lord of the mode of goodness, Brahma is the Lord of the mode of passion, and Shiva is the Lord of the mode of ignorance. Ultimately, the material creation is but a temporary manifestation meant to give the chance of liberation to the conditioned souls who are entrapped in the material world, and one who develops the mode of goodness under the protection of Lord Vishnu has the greatest chance of being liberated by following the Vaishnava principles and thus being promoted to the kingdom of God, no more to return to this miserable material world. Om Jnanatminandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukam Karati Vachalam Pangum Rangate Kirim Yat Kripa Tamaham Pante Shri Guru Dinataranam Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama At the beginning of creation there are penance. Myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then, during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva and the atheists, full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power of the Lord. So here we get, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam is a study of three things: of Krishna, Krishna's devotees, and the process of devotional service. So that's all what we hear in the Bhagavatam. There's nothing outside of it. And what we're hearing here is exactly that. We're learning about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we're learning about the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the process of devotional service. Now, specifically in this verse, we get a picture of a cycle that physical manifestation goes through. And so there is the beginning, there is the middle, and believe it or not, everything physical comes to an end. So beginning, middle, and end. And so in the beginning here it is stated that there was just tapasya, the penance, and then there was Lord Brahma. That was the beginning. And what's interesting, just as a side note, so much in other traditions, as much as a tradition, how much power comes especially for those of you who have grown up in this cultural environment. This is very normal to you, but please pay attention that this is not quite normal everywhere else. The tapasya generates power. From tapasya, all kinds of power come. Tapo divyam, ultimately, tapasya should be divyam, but this tapasya could be used for varieties of things. Could be used also, as it's stated by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, by the demonic. Demonic, driven by strong desire, perform tapasya so they can engage in horrible activities. Vritra, for example, the Asura, Vritra, he performed severe tapasya and gained immense powers. But what for? Not to do good, but to do bad. But the interesting thing is that so much power comes from tapasya. And opposite to it, what's opposite of tapasya? It's sensual gratification. And by engaging in sensual gratification, the power is lost. So by tapasya, power is gained, and by sensual gratification, power is lost. I wish more people these days knew that. Not just individuals, but whole civilizations get drained by sensual gratification. And throughout history, great empires and powers, forces, movements have vanished because of the increase of sensual gratification. As long as the austerity is there, the tapasya and things are good, they're healthy and they're powerful. For Brahman, it is stated that it's the wealth of a Brahman. Austerity, tapasya is the wealth of a Brahman. So that is the beginning. And then in the middle we find, not stated in the verse, but Srila Prabhupada inserted that in the purport when commenting upon it. In the middle we find, does anyone remember? What did you say? Yes, very good. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. In the middle there is Vishnu. Of course, Vishnu is there in the beginning, in the middle, at the end, and afterwards, all throughout. But specifically, it's pointed out that in the middle, during the maintenance, once everything is created, there is Vishnu to maintain it all. And Srila Prabhupada says there is, at that point, there is real religion. There is real religion. So real religion is associated with Lord Vishnu. It is associated with maintenance. Ultimately, it is associated with the purity of the mode of goodness. In other words, religious concepts that formulate and manifest in the lower modes are not quite religion, even though they might be called religion, but ultimately they're not really religion. Religion formulates when there is Vishnu and when there is the mode of goodness. In the mode of ignorance, there is separatism, as it is described by Lord Kapiladev to his mother in the third canto of the Bhagavata. What's separatism? Lord Kapiladev and the students of Lord Kapiladev teachings. There's separatism. In the mode of passion, there is separatism. In the mode of ignorance, and also in the mode of passion, but I will start with the mode of ignorance. Separatism means there is a lack of understanding of unity between individuals, between souls, and ultimately God. And so as the living being does not see the unity of its purpose and well-being with the intentions of God, there is separation. And this is called separatism. And because of this separatism, the person in the mode of ignorance, even when approaching God, is not approaching God because of God. Or in the mode of passion. But approaching God for one's own reasons. And we find this in modern days. There's a lot of talking about, what's the term? Objectification. Do you know what objectification is, anyone? No? Yes?
It's looking at Jesus as individual
yeah, that's very good. Thank you. The objectification is a conversion in our own minds. You can never convert a living being into a thing, but in our minds, we convert a living being into a thing. How do we do this? We do this by experiencing a living being as a means to our own ends. In other words, you don't see a divine creation, a part and parcel of God that has a full right to freedom, happiness. What does the American Constitution say? Liberty, justice, and freedom or happiness? Pursuance of happiness, yeah. All right. Just so you know, you got these rights if you're American. But no, you don't see that person as a living being with its own rights, but you see that person as a mere means to your own ends. So in your own mind, you convert that being into a thing. We use things. We can't use beings. Using beings is immoral. But things we can use. If you say, you're just using that chair, no one will be upset with you. But if you say you're just using that person, now that's a morally loaded statement. It means you're doing something awful. So things are meant to be used, but beings are not. And so when we merely use beings, we're in our minds converting them into things. This is called objectification. And believe it or not, this is what people do to God. God is a mere vending machine. You approach God with your shopping list and you throw in some coins, whatever the coins might be, some money you offer in donation or offer obeisances, but not perform a ritual, and then you're expecting material goods from him. And as when we are treated as an object rather than as a person, we become offended. So similarly, Krishna is also not happy when so-called religious people approach him in this fashion. So until one comes to at least the platform of sadhana bhakti, in some sense we could say that's not religion. Even though it could be said that it is, and it is a part of the Vedic package. But in this sense, until one comes to the beginning early platforms of bhakti, devotion, there's really, that sense, it's not a religion. And one is objectifying God, we could say. Therefore, in the mode of goodness, these things are absent. And we see that the devotees of Vishnu Tattva, devotees of Krishna, of Vishnu, Narayan, or Nrsimhadev, etc., they're not like the demigods of worshippers of demigods. What does Krishna say about the worshippers of demigods in the Bhagavad Gita? Krita Jnana, their jnana or knowledge is spoiled. What is it spoiled by? It is spoiled by their desires to enjoy, to be the enjoyers rather than servants. And then at the end there is irreligion. At the end there is irreligion, and there is Lord Shiva and angry atheists. And then there is destruction. And what's interesting here, it is worth noting it, that the Dharma refers to the normal or natural state of things. This is what Dharma means. And of course, in English, we translate that as religion, but the English word religion does not communicate the same meaning as the word Dharma. Dharma literally refers to a set of qualities that make existence of something possible. For example, this bottle, if it had no form, no shape, no color, no properties, it would not be. But because it has properties, therefore it exists. So therefore, Dharma refers to a set of properties that make existence of anything possible. So therefore, Dharma of this bottle is that it's unfortunately plastic, not too biodegradable, that it has color, has shape, etc., etc. So similarly, when this concept is applied to abstract things or concepts, same holds true. For example, a mother. Mother also has a definition. You cannot just call anyone or anything mother. There has to, a person has to fit the criteria of a mother to be mother. So therefore there is the Dharma of the mother. Merely biologically having children, okay, makes female a mother, but a mother that's abusive towards the children could hardly be considered a mother. So similarly, a police officer is defined by a certain set of qualities, and if police officer is not out there to protect, but rather to abuse, that's not a police officer, that's a crook. Or in the Vedic concept, a king. There is Dharma of a king. There's a certain set of qualities that a king should have. And if that person does not fit the criterion, that's not a king. That person may just be dressed as a king. Like Vena, for example. Vena had to be removed because he was a king in name only. He didn't quite fit the criteria. So this is Dharma. It's the ultimate natural state of things, as they're defined by the Creator Himself. And when things are in the position of Dharma, then everything is nice and smooth. Everything's pleasant, and it's the way it's supposed to be. So therefore, there is destruction at the end, because there is adharma. There's adharma, or as Srila Prabhupada says, irreligion. And therefore things have to collapse. And Lord Shiva is there to oversee that process, which is also interesting. Without God's help, we can't even destroy things. Prabhupada said we should not worry about planet being destroyed, because without Krishna's sanction, we can't even destroy the planet, even if we wanted to. So this, yeah, and then at the end, the last statement is all of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord. And this is very important to understand because we don't find, okay, what I'm about to say, please don't misunderstand me, because if you do, you may be upset. Religion is according to Krishna, one singular phenomena within a human society. And according to our understanding and according to the modes of nature we're in, we're going to conceive of religion in specific ways. 17th chapter, beginning of the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this is discussed. So, for example, here currently in America, we may speak of Islamic religion or a Christian religion or a Hindu religion, but from Krishna's point of view, such thing is illusory. We're really talking about one thing, religion, and what happens when people try to contact God in their seeking of transcendence. And so, take Vedas. I mean, there's so many different interpretations of the Vedas, and therefore you have Mayavadis and you have Vaishnavas who are terribly opposed to each other, to each other's concepts of what the Vedas teach. So similarly, you have different interpretations of the Bible, for example. And then you have different traditions that have established themselves on their own interpretation of the book. So one of the concepts that's presented in the Bible is creation, for example, creation, and having come in contact with the Bible, there have been people who interpreted this creation as ex nihilo. Ex nihilo, does anyone know the meaning of that? Ex nihilo. Ex out of nihilo means nothing. Coming out of nothing. That the creation comes out of nothing. And the specific group of people, not all of them, the specific group of people, conceived of creation as such, as coming out of nothing. And very specifically, did not see creation as a part of God, but something which does not share in the nature of God. And therefore, nature is seen as nasty and horrible, as filthy, and etc., etc., etc. But in Vedic concept, at least in the Gaudiya Vaishnava, we don't have that picture. We have a different picture. What is the picture we get in Gaudiya Vaishnavism? We get a picture that there is no creation out of nothing. But what are the 5 topics of the Bhagavad Gita?
Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala, Dharma.
And which of those things are eternal?
Jiva, Ishvara, Kala. Prakriti is also environmental.
No, Prakriti is also eternal. The only thing that's not eternal is karma. So Prakriti is also, what does eternal mean? Yes, means eternal in the past and eternal in the future. And it's existing also right now. So there is no question of creation from nothing, that there was nothing, then all of a sudden, in one point in time, there is material manifestation. But material energy is one of the energies of Krishna. And just as Krishna is eternal, his energies are also eternal. So material energy is also eternal. And it's inseparable from God. because it's God's energy. Just like my body has heat, and a lot of it. I have a lot of pitta. You cannot separate that heat from me, from my body. So similarly, God has energies. And as long as there is God, there are energies. Vaishnavas give the example of the sun. As long as you have sun rays. As long as you have fire, you have heat. You cannot separate the two. So you cannot separate God's energies from God. So material energy cannot be separated from God because it's an integral part of Krishna. And by its very nature, it's actually divine. Divine meaning because it's part of Krishna. It has a nasty role to play to give us hard time, but nevertheless it's divine, and it's beautiful because God is beautiful. We may experiencing it as something troublesome and painful, but that's because we ought to learn few things. Ultimately, it's actually good. And so the picture we get in the Gaudiya Vaishnava concept is we don't make this separation from God and something which isn't God. Everything's actually taking place within God, by God's sanction, and by Krishna's plan. And the choices we make are the choices that have already been made for us. We're merely making choices. Choices have been served before us. Like you enter a room, a prasadam room, what would you like to eat? Samosas. Where there's no samosas, pick something else. So like this in our lives, we make choices, but that's all we do. We make choices from the things that have been presented to us. Because everything has been created by God. In the sense that in one point there was a creation, and before that we did not exist. Now, Jiva is also eternal. Just like as long as you have sun rays. But the difference between the two is that the sun rays depends on its existence for sun. But there is no such a thing as sun without sun rays. As soon as you talk of sun, there are sun rays. So similarly, as God is eternal, so are his energies. And so everything that's happening, it's happening by Krishna's will. And to see, not only that it's happening by Krishna's will, but in some ways, everything's within Krishna, and Krishna permeates everything. And to understand this is to actually come to the platform of complete realization. What is the definition of the Uttama Adhikari as given in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam? How does that go? Sarva Bhutani Yapashet Bhagavad Bhava Matmanaha Bhutani Bhagavat Yatmani Sa Esha Bhagavata Uttama. So this is the description of the highest, the topmost devotee. Sarva Bhutani, one who sees everyone and everything. Sarva Bhutani Yapashet. Pashet means to see. Sarva Bhutani Yapashet. Bhagavat Bhava Matmanaha sees the Bhagavat Bhava, the nature, the quality of God everywhere. And sees all of that within God. Such person is known as Bhagavata Uttama. Same thing Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. That one who sees me everywhere and everything in me is never lost to me, neither am I ever lost to him. In other words, one who does not see this experiences spiritual destruction. One who does not see this experiences spiritual destruction. And by seeing this, you experience what's the opposite of destruction. You experience spiritual construction. Excuse me. And this is what Bhagavatam here is painting for us. Tells us of the creation, tells us of maintenance, manifestation of true religion, real religion. And then he tells us about destruction and atheism, and all of this is a manifestation. All of these are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power of the Lord. Not that we witness atheism and there's no God in it. That's also by God's definition, by Krishna's definition. All of this, the creation, the maintenance, destruction, our happiness, our distress, all of this is permeated by Krishna. And to constantly be aware of this is to be God conscious. We should also know that we're not here teaching, what's that called? Determinism. You know what determinism is? It's a technical term, but the name itself may reveal determinism. That everything is predetermined. Okay, everything's happening by God's will, that means everything's predetermined. But obviously that's not the case, because we at all times make choices. That's also by Krishna's determination, by his choice, made it in such a way that we have choices to make. But so it's a fine point to understand that it's all happening by God's will. But that doesn't mean that now whatever you do, that's God's doing. No, he, within his doing, gave you a pocket of freedom. So that when we make choices, we experience the consequences of our choices. How does that go? Karya karana kartritve prakriti hetu uchate. Purusha sukha dukkana bhoktritve hetu uchate. That in the matter of creation and destruction, Prakriti or material energy of God is said to be the cause. But in the matter of happiness and distress, soul, you are said to be the cause. What does this mean? This means that by God's arrangement, through his representative, Maya or Prakriti, things are created. This world is created, theism, atheism, buildings, deserts, cactuses. It's all created, but still, happiness and distress depends on our choice. That will be the product of us making choices. We see that even in the modern judicial system. If a person commits a crime, a heinous act, and simply blaming that on one's own upbringing and putting blame on other people does not fly. Those are circumstances that are to be considered, but that in and of itself does not free a person from the consequences of their act. They're still responsible. So similarly, why is that so? Because that's how Krishna made it. So yes, everything is done by Krishna, but still within this creation, it is up to us to make choices. And some of us hate this. Some of us would love to have others make choices for us. I know, I thought like that many times, and every once in a while, I go, can someone make this choice for me? But we have to make the choices. Why do we have to make choices? Because our making choices will have consequences. And the consequences will tell us the nature of our choices. And this is how we morally grow. You make a bad choice and then you understand, okay, that was not good. You cheated your friend or something. And then you have consequences. You left without friends and you're all sad and demoralized. And you have no one in this world to pay attention to you, to give you some affection. Because you've been a selfish person. And now you're suffering. And that suffering is very good. That's the consequence of your work. To point out the nature of your previous choice. That's just one. We have so many choices to make, right? And some choices are very complicated. So this is the picture we get from the Bhagavatam. And then Srila Prabhupada at the end of the purport says that this whole world is created so that the living entity develop in the mode of goodness, in religion, in Krishna, and eventually return to Krishna. This whole thing is one large, giant, humongous arrangement for this. For the rectification of the soul. And we may wonder why was there a market collapse in 2000, a housing market collapse in 2008? Why did I lose my home? India was such an amazing place, very rich, tremendously rich. Why did America was discovered by Europeans who wanted to go to India? But they bumped into this giant island, which they named North and South America. India was a very civilized place. Education, I mean, it was so sophisticated and so rich. Very peaceful, very beautiful place to live in. Religion was there. Knowledge was there. Philosophy was there. Art was there. Riches were there. And then these savage Moguls come in and just did unthinkable things to these people. This also is part of the great arrangement. And one who does not see this experiences destruction. Yomam pashati sarvam tasyaham na pranashami sachame na pranashat. There is no vinash, destruction. For one who sees God in all of it. Like that cosmic experience that Arjuna had, right? When he saw Krishna. For God's sake, what is this? The cosmic form of Krishna. But he saw everyone rushing into the mouths of that universal form, Krishna. Krishna saw, this is all me, no worries. Srila Prabhupada said when the Japanese were bombing India, he said that he was honoring prasadam and he wouldn't go into the basement, that he was experiencing bombs as Krishna. Not to be imitated. But of course, there are some people who try to cheaply do this and kind of try to psych themselves into thinking everything is Krishna, whatever comes their way. But we have to understand precisely how everything is Krishna. And all of this is a very good arrangement for the rectification of the soul. Whether it's the housing market collapse, whether it's the plundering of India, or whether it is someone winning a lottery. All of this is happening within God. And one who sees this is not lost, is not destroyed. But otherwise, so this is very interesting. Whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, doesn't matter. But if one is God conscious in it all, one is not lost. But one who is not God conscious, whatever happens, it's all useless. Whether it's a so-called pleasant or so-called unpleasant thing. So, Om Tat Sat. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Anandatirtha Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada